When in sales, if you're selling to me, I negotiate for a living. And that man, like, I've trained my kids, and it sucks because now they're good negotiators. And, I'm constantly having to negotiate with them. But one of my favorite ones is that the best that you can do? And if you want to close me, if you want to get my business, you got to have something to give up, okay? And it doesn't necessarily have to be the price, right? It's like you could say, okay, you know what? Like normally we're going to give you like a 18-foot box truck, but we're going to do like a 22-foot or whatever, or hey, you get the extra insurance, bonus insurance that normally costs $150 more, or whatever that it is. You got to have something to give up. But we're going to give that to you if what?
If you book now.
Boom! Fist bump for you. That's right. You get the $150 off if you book it today. You got to have your call to action, right? And when you're negotiating, it's give and take. Like you never give something up without taking something in return. And here, what we're taking is the business, right? The signing on the dotted line. I'm sure you guys know this, but this is probably the most important thing pertaining to sales that I have to talk about today. And it's two words. Who can guess what those are? How do I close more sales than any other agent in my office using these two words?
Work ethic?
It's kind of there. Follow up. You're all like, of course. Yeah. If you can ask somebody the same question 8 different ways, you're going to wear them down and get a yes. Are you ready to hire me yet? That's one. You come up with them, right? Because my closes may not be exactly like the same closes that you guys use. But I mean, there's enough overlap where I think that there's going to be enough similarities. But somebody's going to give you an objection. And you got to have 3 different ways of handling those objections. And whenever somebody gives you an objection, it's too tempting to dive right in, right? And say, well, Mr. Mover, this is how we handle your objection. Try to train yourselves not to do that. Instead, you say, okay, so your question is, can we get there in 2 weeks? Whenever somebody gives you an objection, you reiterate it, right? It gives you time to think about what you're going to say, and then they feel heard. And it goes back to the tactical empathy that we were talking about. You say, if we can get there in 2 weeks, then we're going to be okay. Now, let me ask you this, Jim. If I can show you that, yes, we can get there in 2 weeks and be at your next house 2 days after that, are you going to be ready to hire us then? Before you go in objection handling mode, you say, is that the only thing I got to take care of? Or is there going to be something else? Because if they say yes to that, and then you handle it, they can't come back and talk about price. Because we already said, okay, so now that I've handled the only thing that there was to handle, let's go ahead and move on with the paperwork, right? Because price was never mentioned. And then if price is also another thing, okay, so if we talk about the timing, if I can show you that we're going to make good on the timing and we're going to make good on the price, then will you be ready to hire me? There's the insurance thing, the price, and the timing. If I can show you that we can address all 3 of those, then will you be ready to hire me? You get a list, and I write every single one down, okay? Every single thing that there is to talk about, we're going to talk about it item by item and address it. So first we talk about the timing. Well, we can get there in like 2 weeks plus 1 day. Would that be okay? Yes. I put a big check mark next to that one, right? Then we talk about the next one. It's like the fee, okay? If we did it for this, would that work for you? Yes. Check. Insurance coverage. This is how much we got. Check. Boom. There you go, man. We got it all figured out. And sometimes if I'm in person, I'll put my hand out. Like the moment you get a handshake, that's a done deal, like in my book. Very rarely is somebody gonna not want to shake your hand if you put it out in front of them. In the follow-up, when you get a lead, the odds of you closing that lead are the highest when. So you get a lead. I just gave you one. What is most likely that you are to close that lead? When is
like
that
right away within 5 minutes?
Right away, exactly. Speed to conversion. I don't know what it is for the moving business, but in the real estate business, 72% of the time, sellers are going to hire the first agent that they talk to. And so that means, man, I was flabbergasted when I found that stat, because that means it is way more important for me to be the fastest than the best. Because if I'm the fastest, I'm going to win 72% of the time, whether I suck or not, right? And then if I'm the fastest and the best, well, now that's great. But it's way more important to be the fastest than it is to be the best. And keep that in mind, because, man, I don't have time to waste, right? I don't want to call 10 different moving companies. If I get you on the phone first and you check off all my boxes, I'm good. I don't need to try to save another $200 and call the guy next door. I just want you to check off all my boxes, and then so I can move on with my life and do the next thing. So get there first. And if you feel like they're a D, I always like to start with, hey, thanks for taking my call. I want to be respectful of your time. You have 2 minutes to chat with me. And if you start with that, like, it helps to break down barriers. People appreciate that you're respectful of their time like that. And so there you acknowledge it. Because like once you get a lead in my funnel, I'm never going to stop calling you, ever. Until you block me or until you tell me not to call you anymore. Otherwise, I mean, and it goes further and further back, right? In the beginning, when I get a brand new lead, I call it twice that day. Once in the morning, once in the evening. And then it's every day for like 2 weeks after that. And I'm always leaving a voicemail, sending a text message, and emails. And look, when I get them on the phone, they're like, dude, man, why you gotta call me so much? Jim, imagine if this is how hard I'm fighting for your business. Imagine how hard I'm actually going to fight to sell your house when it's time for me to sell. And people just hire me to make me go away.
Please, I'll sign anything.
There you go.
Take my money.
And I get the job done.